defense. She's got to stay patient. But Janiyah Barker can contribute in so many ways. Her defense, her rebounding, and she spaces the floor for the Aggies.
Barker set to jump up against Cardoso. The opening tip controlled by South Carolina in the home white. And here we go in quarterfinal number 1 in Greenville. Bree Hall defended by Aicha Coulibaly. Now Chloe Kitts. Kitts will try from the outside. And the first points of the game go to the sophomore for South Carolina. You can see Raven Johnson in the starting 5 for South Carolina, putting pressure on the starting point guard for Texas A&M. That's KK Green. Aicha Coulibaly went for 17 against Mississippi State. Lauren Ware, the leading rebounder for this team, will be put to the test here against one of the best rebounding teams in the country. Barker, that's her spot, and an early basket for the sophomore from Marietta. Carolina starting 5. Pow Pow, second team all-conference selection. Johnson, second team all-conference selection. Bree Hall's been an outstanding shooter. Kitts back in the starting 5, and Cardoso, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, and a first-team all-conference selection. And Cardoso is fouled, or it's a jump ball. Jump ball or a travel. Turnover here either way for South Carolina.
You've already seen both offenses had trouble getting into it because of the denial defense. How can they get in the offense? How deep will they go into their offenses? First, second, third options have to be available.
Barker shoots over Cardoso off the mark, and South Carolina loves to push the tempo. They get down the floor quickly with Johnson. In the words of Dawn Staley, she is all gas, no brakes. And here is Raven on the drive for 2.
And I asked the A&M staff about pace. They're like, we want to run. We have to be cognizant of the runs by South Carolina, though.
Not too many teams will win a track meet with South Carolina. Thus far, no teams have figured out a way to beat South Carolina, because they can beat you with the speed and they can beat you inside. Cardoso leading the team at 14 points a game, her first 2. Coulibaly. Coulibaly on the drive. Cardoso there, and she gets called for the foul. So the big question for Texas A&M is, when will India Rogers enter the game? She was a difference maker yesterday. If you weren't with us yesterday, the starting point guard, leading scorer for Texas A&M, missed the previous 6 games, last 6 games of the regular season after a knee injury, returned yesterday, looked good, played well, 12 points in 16 minutes. Waiting for her to come off the bench here today.
I thought she was the dynamite. And Joni Taylor said she feels good today. And she said, I'm going to push the minutes a little bit today.
So it was 16 yesterday. We'll see if it's a little bit more. You have not been following the South Carolina team this year. There's Coulibaly with the steal, throwing it up. That is Jones on the run with the finish. Well done by Texas A&M. South Carolina, incredibly deep team. They keep coming at you in waves off the bench. Pow Pow for 3. Number 1 in the country at better than 48%. Rogers, excellent shooter. Not this time. Pow Pow on the push. Bree Hall, excellent shooter. She hits the 3. Really came on in conference play, hitting 47% from outside the arc. Coulibaly, no. And a rebound to Johnson. There's Ashlyn Watkins trying to save it as she ran out of play. She takes out a chair. May have taken out somebody else, too, back there.
A&M obviously has numbers.
Rogers, Watkins sprinting back, but Barker got the shot off in time for 3. Pow Pow to Fagan. Fagan, good pass to Watkins. Just couldn't get it to go. Follow-up no good. Johnson all along on the weak side for her first 2.
Second chance opportunities. A&M has to be better in that area of boxing and keeping South Carolina off the glass. Already 5 second chance points for the Gamecocks.
Well, Wiley has really improved her defense, making it tough for Rogers. Bowles is a shooter. Ware trying to work on Fagan. Got Fagan in the air, but no contact. Yes, contact. A foul called on Sanaya Fagan. I do not blame Lauren Ware one bit for needing to manage breaks here and there because of what she has to deal with for the inside for South Carolina.
At least 3 different post players can play that 5 position for them. Honestly, it's 4. And they're all as big as Lauren Ware, if not bigger. And you see, especially with that Ashlyn Watkins, it's a different kind of defense.
Joni Taylor, 19 wins for this team in her 2nd season at Texas A&M. They had 9 wins a season ago. 2 of those 9 wins came in this tournament. Shania Barker on for Ware. Pow Pow rejected by Barker, who sprints after it and ends up in the 2nd row of press row.
What's our Aggie guy over there for if he's just going to let Janai keep going?
Yeah, you know what? You got to take the charge there.
Exactly.
You look like you can handle it, sir.
Some defense for the Aggies on the baseline out of bounds.
Pow Pow. In and out for 3. Bose hands it off to Rogers. Rogers hounded by Fulwiley. Today at Hilton into the game. Bowles will launch a 3. That's big for Texas A&M if they can get Sydney Bowles heated up from outside. Here's Fulwiley on the drive. Won't drop, but she was fouled. Freshman from Columbia has just been filling up the highlight reel from her very first game of the season, as we saw that 17 points in the collegiate debut against Notre Dame in Paris. And that beautiful take to the basket. She's added to that highlight reel. I think the one thing, too, that Dawn Staley loves is how Fulwiley, the competitor, is committed to being better defensively, being a better all-around player, and Staley wants her to shoot more, wants her to be more aggressive.
Well, Eric, in all my years of coaching, I never had a freshman who didn't hit the wall. Mentally, physically, and then pop out of it. And you're seeing, and that's one of my favorite parts of Malaysia's game. It's her shoe game with Under Armour.
You've never had a freshman who's had a different pair of shoes in every game.
That too. Maintain their composure. They've been challenged this season, and this is just another challenge on their stretch run.
Rogers with a launch from 3/4 court off the mark. Joni Taylor's got to be happy even though her team's down. They don't look timid. Feels different for Texas A&M hanging in there. But A&M's got to be better than 29% if they're going to pull the upset. That's what they shot in the first quarter. Hilton to Ware. KK Green. Raven Johnson back on the floor for South Carolina.
Barker needs the ball right now with Cardoso trying to defend her off the 3-point line.
Barker's calling for it, but Coulibaly's trying to do something one-on-one, and she did something one-on-one. Johnson to Cardoso, who lost the handle. Second quarter starts where the first quarter left off for South Carolina.
And it ends for the Aggies the same way. Good team defense in the half court.
Barker brings Cardoso out, launches the 3, but does not get the roll. Last touch by Carolina, so A&M basketball. Here's Ware, open from the top of the key. Lauren Ware with her first field goal, and Texas A&M's on top in the second. Johnson into traffic. She was fouled. Just the second team foul of the game. Freshman, rather, from Albertville, Maryland. 25 made threes for Johnson. Comes up with a couple of free throw line. And a traveling violation. Johnson hangs in the air, and she's fouled again. It's been a good shooting year, a great shooting year, really, for South Carolina. They haven't been great from the free throw line, 68%. They haven't needed to be great from the free throw line, frankly. It cost them in the national semifinals. It has been a major strength this year for Carolina.
Well, and the other reason they haven't needed the free throw shooting, they're averaging a win margin of 32 points a game.
Coulibaly called for the travel.
And so remarkable improvement. I think it started with Tahina Pow, but it has been remarkable, the improvement of Raven Johnson and Bree Hall as well.
Major improvement for South Carolina.
Elevator action by the Aggies.
Rogers back out, Barker wide open 3, no good. Ware tried to knock it off of Fulwiley. Here comes Fulwiley, moving through traffic. looking back for Johnson. Wide open three. Rogers, a deep three. Can't end the run, but Barker's got an offensive rebound. And that will end the run at 9 straight for South Carolina.
Really important answer there by Texas A&M, but even better response by South Carolina.
Kamilla Cardoso loves to run the floor. Jones ran out of room on the baseline. Wiley down the lane, too strong with the left. Cardoso's fouled by Barker.
Here's where I'll say the growth I've seen in Janiah Barker in the last month. A month ago, I would have said, no, you got to get her out because she's an emotional player. This is the maturity that we've seen in this young lady.
Oh, you heard Brooke talk about it at the top of our show, using that emotion the right way. Rogers out of sync right now. Coulibaly sticks with it. Can't get it. And here's Wiley. One-on-one with Barker. Wiley. Too strong.
Smart play by Barker to concede that. Mislay it. Now Aggies can get out and run.
Barker the other way with the 2 fouls and deflected by Johnson getting in the passing lane. Coulibaly from deep. 4-3. Aicha Coulibaly just 16% from outside the three-point line this season, but playing with a ton of confidence. Cardoso. Fagan gets a little aggressive on the post-up with Coulibaly. Rogers for Ware. Ware back to Rogers. 7 on the shot clock. Rogers open 3. Still trying to find the range now. 0 for 5 from the field. Raven Johnson off the window for 2. I said Dawn Staley said Raven Johnson is all gas, no brakes. That wasn't necessarily a compliment from Dawn because sometimes Ravens should take her foot off the gas a little bit, but she got aggressive on that take and was rewarded for it. Coulibaly traveled.
One of the difference of why they still have the 9-point lead is they're plus 10 in the rebounding battle right now as well.
Final shot here for South Carolina. Cardoso for Fagan. Fagan with the finish. Final heave on the way, and that will do it for the first half. India Rogers will start in the second half. She came off the bench to start the game, but she will be out there. You just get the sense this is going to be a critical couple minutes here because you heard Dawn Staley talk to Brooke walking up the court. We shot ourselves out of a cannon at the start of the game. You would think that they were going to come out here and look for a little separation early, and especially Chloe Kitt's a player who was on the bench for most of the first half thanks to 2 fouls, coming out there trying to make a difference right away. That's Coulibaly who's down. If she goes back to the locker room area for perhaps a concussion assessment, and she is walking back behind the bench. You can see top of the screen going down the hallway. And she's not going too far because she wants to keep an eye on the game here. Competitor.
Nice driving kick there. Not enough space, though, for the shot.
Barker with 5 on the shot clock. Got Cardoso turned around. Couldn't hit it. 27% from the field in the first half for Texas A&M. Kitts. She'll take it from outside and knock it down. Chloe Kitts taken out of the rhythm thanks to those 2 fouls in the first quarter, trying to find her rhythm here in the third.
Look at how far out KK Green is trying to initiate the offense because of the on-ball pressure of Raven Johnson.
Bree Hall will do more of the same on Rogers. Rogers 0 for 5 in the first half. Second half's a different story. Knocks it down for 3.
Shot clock got skinny in every possession for the Aggies so far.
Kitts with the finish. Kitts averaging just under 10 points a game. This is a balanced South Carolina team. Cardoso leading the team in scoring at 14 points a game. Barker found where, and won.
For her to get open, get the pass, get the finish, and get the celebration.
Ware finishes the three-point play. Aicha Coulibaly has come back from the locker room area. She is sitting up with the coaching staff, which is always a good sign that she's...
Put me in, coach.
Yes, she's in put me in coach mode.
Yeah, guys, Coulibaly was in the hallway getting worked on by the training staff. They were just getting some, looking for movement around her jaw line, just kind of checking to make sure she had some mobility around the neck. But yeah, didn't have to go back to the locker room. It's always a good sign.
Okay, thank you very much, Brooke. Cardoso, chance for a three-point play.
Well, now the screen on the ball and the roll by the bigs is on display for both teams. Great lead pass by Bree Hall. Good hands, good finish by Kamilla Cardoso.
Add to it the third foul on Barker. Carolina is 9 for 9 from the free throw line today. Rogers trying to get away from Hall as Barker open at the top. Barker on the drive and the finish. Janiyah Barker, first points in the second half, 9 for the game. Kitts. See if they work it back to Kitts. Guarded by Barker, who's got the 3 fouls. Chloe Kitts was denied. Barker was close to her, and here's Rogers. Barker on the run and the finish. Here comes Texas A&M, led by Janiyah Barker. See the good emotion there, and as she's coming out of the game, Joni Taylor stopping her. She's been in her ear for a few seconds now, trying to calm her down, trying to keep her locked in the game, even though she'll be watching from the bench for quite a while now. To the bench with 4 fouls. Watkins on the floor, inside for 2.
And we talk about Barker scoring, but she also gives length defensively. She gives rebounding, and that last possession by South Carolina was a great example of her not being on the floor, what South Carolina could do against them.
Jones is fouled by Cardoso. That'll be her second personal. Aicha Coulibaly is back into the game here, grabbing at her neck a little bit as she steps around midcourt, stretching it out. So we'll see if she's at 100%. A less than 100%, Aicha Coulibaly is still pretty good, and Texas A&M needs that right now with Barker on the bench with the 4 personals. Johnson for Cardoso inside. Johnson trying to make Rogers work. MJ Johnson in the game. Her pass intended for Ware. A turnover. 11-point lead. That was the advantage at halftime for number 1 South Carolina.
ISO for Watkins here.
Against Johnson. Too strong, too quick, too good. Now for Wiley will defend Rogers. Ware spins over Watkins for 2.
A&M doing a much better job attacking off of the screen on the ball and hitting the post, whether it's up and in or just hitting the roller this half so far.
Ball takes the handoff from Watkins. Watkins finds Cardoso, who flips it up with the left and 1. Kamilla Cardoso trying to finish off a 3-point play. The foul on Ware was her second. My feeling is she was probably a little bit more conversational with Brooke. So that's 3 on Cardoso. Coulibaly with 7, all coming in the first half. Mentioned her day against Mississippi State, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. That's what she does. She stuffs the stat sheet. Tessa Johnson, who played very well in the first half. She had 9 points off the bench for South Carolina. 7 of those 9 were during that 17-5 burst to close out the quarter. Johnson to Watkins for 2 more.
Great read by Watkins. She saw that her defender turned her back and just cut hard to the glass.
15 assists on 19 field goals for South Carolina. Coulibaly. Fouled by Watkins. First personal on Watkins. Saw the 19 assists per game. They had a 30-assist game on 35 field goals, by the way, against Kentucky. A&M making their free throws. Coulibaly into double figures. She has 11. Back to a 12-point game. Fagan travels. First turnover of the second half for South Carolina. Right now it's Cardoso and Kitts on the bench. Fagan and Watkins in the post. On the floor. Coulibaly muscles it in for 2 more. Watkins, beauty on the turnaround. 8 points this half for Ashlyn Watkins.
And I thought Aicha Coulibaly played defensively that really well. Gave her the space. That's just how good Ashlyn Watkins is off the bounce.
Coulibaly given a little room to operate. Throws up another tough one. Aicha Coulibaly on a run of her own right now. She's got 15 points. She has scored the last 8 for Texas A&M. Coulibaly denied by Coulibaly, but Fagan there to clean it up. Hilton comes up short on the floater. Sydney Bowles tried to keep it alive. Missed opportunity right there for Texas A&M. Now for Wiley to Fagan. Far 2. Texas A&M not too shabby at 58%.
Well, and I got to believe that timeout by South Carolina was to address Aicha Coulibaly on offense because she's been able to get the touches.
South Carolina over the limits. So 2 free throws for Coulibaly. The foul on Watkins, her second personal. AK Green defending Johnson in the backcourt. Here comes Bowles to help, and that's going to be a 10-second call. Carolina's outscored A&M by 1 point here in this third quarter, and it's Texas A&M basketball.
I go back to what Joni Taylor told us. She said most teams are beat before they step on the floor. I needed to make sure my team believed they could play with South Carolina, and right now Aicha Coulibaly can definitely play with South Carolina.
Each minute that goes by in this game, and we're in the final minute of the third quarter. Coulibaly's doing her best. You're buying time for Barker to stay on the bench instead of running the risk of putting her out there with 4 personal fouls.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about it. Should Joni Taylor put her back in when South Carolina made the run? She believed in her team. Aicha Coulibaly's taken over, scoring the last 11 points for A&M. And getting them to the fourth quarter still in this game.
Offensive rebound. There's Coulibaly for 2 more. She has scored the last 13 Aggie points. Her success has fueled A&M's defensive intensity. Watkins takes it on Johnson. Offensive foul on Ashlyn Watkins. That will be her third. Shot clock off. Rogers back on the floor, hounded by full Wiley. Rogers kicks it back, open 3. Bowles, no. Time for a final shot here. Hilton heaves it up, and that's it for the quarter. But it turns out to be a good quarter for Texas A&M. They outscore South Carolina 26-24. South Carolina hit their last 8 shots of the third quarter. They were all scored in the paint, but Texas A&M refuses to quit. They look to the paint again with Cardoso. On the cut, Johnson. And one. Tessa Johnson showing some strength, getting the basket and the foul.
34 paint points now for South Carolina, and they're doing it by moving without the basketball. Great pass by Kamilla Cardoso to Tessa Johnson, and she finished.
And she finishes the three-point play.
This is where right now execution is at a premium.
Coulibaly had to go up and get that pass. Made the pass to where? Who finished? Great catch by Coulibaly. That looked like it had a turnover written all over it. Instead, it's 2 to make it a 10-point game. Cardoso fouled by Ware. First miss for Cardoso and the team, now 11 of 12. When do you bring Janiah Barker back into the game if you're Joni Taylor?
I think as long as you're within 10 and you can get to about 6 or 7 minutes, you keep her on the bench. Because right now we know where the ball's going through. Aicha Coulibaly is going to get a touch. Doesn't mean she's going to shoot, as we saw in the last play. But your offense is stabilized right now. Your defense is hanging in there. The key right now is they can't keep going blow for blow. They've got to get a score and a stop and cut into this lead.
So keep it around 10 points for the next couple of minutes on the game clock is best case scenario for Texas A&M.
Absolutely, but you want to get it under 10 before the 5 if at all possible.
Rogers can't hit, knocked away, but picked up by Kitts. Off to Pow Pow. They've kept Pow Pow in check here today. She's attempted just 2 3-pointers. She has 3 points. Kitts into trouble, and a tie-up jump ball will give it to Texas A&M.
With no Coulibaly on the floor, who's going to get the shot opportunity?
It's Rogers. 5 points for Rogers. A gamble in the backcourt by Green. Here's Pow Pow. Back the other way. Cardoso with the putback. Shot clock down to 7 for Rogers. Rogers trying to get around Cardoso. Kicks into the corner. Bowles. It was a hot pass. She fumbled a little bit, and Texas A&M was down by 8. Look at the scoreboard. They're down by 11. Coulibaly and the Aggies did well to stay right there with South Carolina.
And now Barker has to take advantage of these minutes here in the 4th quarter. Play smart, play disciplined.
Cardoso to Kitts, defended by Barker. She has to be careful. Hall. And a foul is going to be called. So it's 1 on Jones. Ware at 3 fouls and holding. Coulibaly has been patched up, so she is sitting with the assistant coaches at Texas A&M, ready to come back into the game. Both free throws missed, but Kitts with the rebound for South Carolina. And an open 3 for Hall. Cardoso an offensive rebound. Pow Pow for 3. Is the biggest lead of the game for South Carolina. Barker can't get the 2. Coulibaly wasting no time making an impact, but she can't finish. And a foul's going to be called on MJ Johnson. And I think Johnson got teed up. She was overly demonstrative after having that foul called. It's been an intense game in here. We've seen it on both sides. The players, the coaches getting fired up. You've heard it in the arena from the fans fueling the fire. Johnson gets a technical here.
Johnson was upset with this call. She did come across the arm, but for some of the physical play, I think this is probably what she's doing, and very reactionary to that call.
You get the call for the tee. That's rewarding the post. So for Johnson, it's a double. It's a foul, and that technical counts as a personal foul. So South Carolina's already in the bonus with 5.5 to go in the 4th.
Eric Cardoso was shooting the 2 free throws from her foul.
Okay. Well, I wanted
now the best free throw shooter on the team, is shooting the 2 free throws.
I just looked down, I saw bonus, so I got you.
5th foul was committed. It should have been the technical free throws first. So they're going to wipe those free throws that Kamilla Cardoso shot off. That's what she said. And then they will get the ball.
So Kamilla's 2 free throws don't count.
The technical foul made it the 5th foul. So Cardoso, the foul committed on Cardoso was the 4th. So it should have been 2 free throws. It's a correctable error. So they wiped the free throws away. The technical foul was what Pau shot. The 2 technicals. And now they got ball back.
You see why my confusion. If I see Cardoso by herself at the free throw line, she's shooting tees. And I think that should be what happens next because they took 2 free throws away from her. So
we got it. You want Cardoso to shoot technical free throws.
And I made my point clear. Here's Johnson. It's a free throw contest right now. Now, Dawn Staley is getting the explanation that I believe you got. That won't drop. Then it's a rebound for Barker. So after sorting through all that, it is a 17-point lead for South Carolina. And critical trips here for Texas A&M into the hands of Coulibaly, who will go to the free throw line. The winners after this game here to keep you company between games. Part of a busy day here in Greenville. Here's Full Wiley with the basketball. Chloe Kitts leans in, count it and one. Chloe Kitts with a chance for a 3-point play. Janiah Barker. She's done. She fouls out with 4:17 to go in the 4th. Really a non-factor in the second half. She finishes the game with 11 points. 18-point game. Here's Rogers. Rogers, tough shot for 2. For Wiley, defended by Bowles. Watkins rolls to the basket, trying to make the extra pass. It was at the feet of Kitts. And back the other way comes Hilton. Hilton to the basket. Good finish by Tanea Hilton for her first points.
So there was a stop and a score, and they do it again. And I got to believe South Carolina's going to start working some clock.
That clock now reads 3:20 and counting. Watkins hangs in the air and puts down 2 more. 10 points for Watkins, all in the second half.
Taking way too long for A&M to get into their half-court offensive sets right now.
Coulibaly rips through, throws it up, count it, and the foul. Aicha Coulibaly now with 23 points and a chance to add to it. Fantastic performance by Aicha Coulibaly. 24 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. And here is a turnover. Bowles inside. A&M needed that one, couldn't get it, and then a foul is called. So Wiley to the free throw line to shoot a couple. 77% free throw shooter.
Did you notice the change of shoes at halftime for Aicha?
Oh my gosh. That's why I work with you, because you are my wardrobe / shoe change expert.
She was frustrated in the first half, and so that had something to do with it. Let me get my new kicks on.
Coulibaly fouled by Watkins, and back to the free throw line goes Aicha Coulibaly. Getting closer to her career high of 31. She's blown past her season high of 20, now at 26. There's the pressure from A&M. Here comes Full Wiley with the handle. Full Wiley into the front court. Full Wiley with the finish. Green defended by Johnson. Shot clock at 5. Coulibaly has to launch. She cannot miss right now. 29 for Coulibaly. Johnson, no need to take it to the basket. Work some clock. 1:10 to go into the hands of Fagan. Tried to get it to Johnson. Johnson caught it and finished.
Tony Taylor had India Rogers at the table, was going to get her in, and then just pulled her back and told her to have a seat. And there you go.
Coulibaly with 32. It is a new career high. This has to look good in the eyes of the selection committee on Selection Sunday in the NCAA. They got a win against Mississippi State. They held their own against South Carolina. In the end, it's going to be a win for undefeated and #1 South Carolina. But A&M in the last 4 in group, according to Charlie Cream, a net of 43. This can only help their cause come next Sunday.
Absolutely, and we saw an India Rogers that looked really good yesterday.
In the end, it will be another win for South Carolina. Another 30-win season. Carolina wins it 79-68. They are moving on to the semifinals in Greenville.
A lot of different ways that the Gamecocks can beat you.